We game devs often struggle coming up with unique and original game ideas. And to avoid making the next generic roguelike 3569, I found 4 game design methods to come up with fresh and unique game concepts. Let's jump straight into the first one. No, this is not some new weird kinky site. This is a formula for using existing game ideas to create brand new ones. This method is probably the most common and easiest method game designers use. The application is pretty easy. You take a game that is successful and add a mechanic that fundamentally changes the game's concept. The massive advantage of this game design method is that you can actively target the player base of an existing game and offer them a fresh twist on their favorite game. I think the easiest way to explain this method is to show you examples. So here are 2 examples of successful games that use this exact design method. Let's start with the latest game that completely turned the gaming industry on its head. Palworld takes the familiar and beloved concept of Pokemon, where players capture, train and battle with creatures, but introduces a radical twist by incorporating guns into the gameplay. This unexpected combination turns the initial game into a blend of creature collection and action-adventure survival, appealing to those who enjoy either genre. And that is how this game has been infamously named the Pokemon, but with guns. This is a prime example of the application of this game design method. Another game that brilliantly exemplifies this game design method is Subnautica. It adapts the intense horror survival mechanics seen in the forest and immerses them into the uncharted territory of an alien ocean. This shift from a terrestrial to an aquatic environment not only significantly changes the survival dynamic, but also enhances the sense of exploration with its sprawling underwater world. But most importantly, Subnautica makes sure to preserve the essence of horror, darkness, and fear of the unknown that the forest is known for, captivating players who are drawn to the thrill of surviving and exploring mysterious frontiers. Each of these games are prime examples on how taking a well-known concept and introducing a significant twist can create a whole new engaging experience that can attract players with familiar taste while offering them something fresh and new. However, this next game design method goes in a completely different direction. Instead of adding something new to an existing game, you rather choose one feature or mechanic that made the initial game great and remove everything else. I demonstrated this in my last video, where I applied this exact trick to come up with a pretty cool game idea I named Triangle Dasher. We took the up and down mechanic of one of the Geometry Dash levels and made a simple but juicy game concept that is built entirely on this one movement mechanic. You should probably watch that video next to get a better idea of what I'm talking about. But in any case, this method is great for creating a more casual and scaled down version of an already existing popular game. Ideally, you should try to pick a mechanic that went viral with that initial game so that you increase your chances of going viral as well. Another big benefit of games designed this way is that they are usually way smaller in scope, but still retain a very high chance of success. Now, this next method is in theory very similar to the first method, but instead of combining features or mechanics to an existing game, you rather combine 2 entire genres. I call this method the fusion method. I think one of the very first instances where most of you saw this method in action was with Danny when he mixed the survival genre with the roguelike genre to create his survival roguelike called Muck. In a sense, this is quite a difficult method because a lot of genres might or might not play that well together. So not only will you have to do a lot of experimenting and testing, but you also need a solid understanding of what made the original genres fun so that you can successfully pull out the best of both. As an example, let's look at one of my favorite games that was born out of this game design method. Frostpunk. At its core, Frostpunk is a city-building survival game, ingeniously merging the strategic planning and management aspect of city builders with the harsh survival elements of survival game. This results in a game that demands constant decision-making to survive the cold embrace of an eternal winter. This game exemplifies the fusion method beautifully, showing that with creativity and a deep understanding of what makes each genre engaging, it's possible to craft a game that feels both familiar and entirely unique. This last method is probably the hardest one to pull off. but if done successfully can result in some very interesting game concepts. This method I named concept flip. Basically, you take a concept and flip it backwards. Here's an example. Dungeon Keeper. Dungeon Keeper is the opposite of a dungeon crawler. Instead of invading and clearing a dungeon, you have to create a dungeon with monsters and traps to defend against adventurers that come to invade your dungeon. This created a completely different and unique game. Funnily enough, this is mostly used in the YouTube game dev space with videos like Pong, but you're the ball, or Space Invader, but you're the invader. Personally, I struggled using this method, but considering how intriguing the games are that are made through this method, I think it's definitely worthy being on this list.